Hey guys, this is Tom Box, and today we answer the age-old question. How do I become a YCS commentator, or WCQ, or any major event? And I'm saying WCQ, not Nationals, because here in NA, we don't have anything called Nationals, and I'll explain why this type of languaging matters to those of us in this position. Now, I've taken on this role for about 3 events now. The first one would be 250th YCS in Los Angeles, the second one would be WCQ at Raleigh, North Carolina, and the third one would be YCS Indy in Indianapolis. And so I'm positioned in a space where I can kind of talk about it and shed some light, but as a disclaimer, I would like to say everything that I say in this video represents myself and it's just my perspective on these things, whereas anything I say do not represent Konami, and anything that matches up with them is sheerly by coincidence. Now that the disclaimer is out of the way, I would like you guys to hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. I'm sharing with you guys some information you're likely never going to hear from a lot of people out there, and this is going to help shed some light on the subject matter, and I'm also putting my neck on the line here because I'm not sure if I'm going to say something I'm not supposed to say. Likely this video is going to get vetted anyway, and you guys hitting that thumbs up means that, hey, at least I know you guys appreciate the things I'm sharing. Alright, with that being said, I'm going to break it down to 3 easy digestible segments for you guys, and the first one is going to be about the selection requirements, the qualifications, what earns you your spot to even try out for the role, what are they looking for, and I'm gonna shed some light on it. There's probably a lot of rumors speculating in that particular area, and maybe we can get rid of some of that. The second segment is going to be about the process of getting into the role. It's the tryout. You don't automatically just get it just because they pick you. You have to go through a process of getting there, much like the RC2 certification exam. I'm not going to go into the details of all of that, but I can tell you what I think they're looking for during that process. So you guys, if you do ever get a chance, you can study up for it. This one probably can't really study up for it. It's more or less practice. And then the third thing is, after you get the role, there's a lot of things that you do not see behind the scenes that commentators have to do. And so I'm going to be shedding some light on that as well. There's so much, and I'm so grateful for all the people I've worked with that were commentators, and they showed me how to get prepared for stuff. And even I learned as I go. I learned to be a lot more prepared for event to event. Like, there's a difference between starting one with a new format and you know absolutely nothing, or you go into an event where the format is more established. We're going to some of the details there. So with all that I've said so far, there's one base level requirement that you're gonna need, otherwise everything I said above would not even matter. And that is, the people in charge will need to trust you. They'll need to trust you in your professionalism, your game knowledge, your commentary skills, your confidentiality, and they are the people who contact you. Without that, it won't really matter. This is probably the hardest hurdle for 99% of people out there that wants this role. Okay, so let's start off with the selection requirement, showing your qualification. Path number 1 is the most obvious path, yet is the path that 99% of people won't be able to take, and that is to be employed by Konami, card business. And so, in other words, they are the people that earn the Konami representative title on stream. You see people with that title versus the people with Master Duelist, or versus the people that say Game Commentator. Yeah, that's a completely different thing, only given to the Konami employees, so that's a big difference. It's safe to say that because they were hired by Konami, they trust them in their professionalism. They probably check all of their boxes to some degree. I'm not sure if they check like the commentary and the game knowledge stuff automatically, because that stuff is probably going to still get tested on. I'm just speculating here, but it's just safe to say that your job as doing something might not be the same as your job on stream commentating. It's probably 2 different things entirely. But they can communicate with the right people internally, because I work for a company and internal communications does give you advantage. You can talk to your HR, you can talk to the right people, they can line you up with the right people, and so that particular path probably is one with the least amount of resistance, with probably the biggest barrier for most people. Method number 2, becoming a master duelist, a world's class player. Ryan Levine, Asala, Aaron Furman, Billy Brake. I guess Billy Brake is more of a Konami representative these days. Robbie Boyajin, Joseph, Michael Kohanem, all of these are world's class players. They have earned a lot of their top achievements under their belt. They have YCS wins, YCS tops, WCS invites. Like, I don't think I fit in this category. I have like one YCS top and like one like invitational win carried by pack, and my regional tops here likely don't even matter. These are the people with vast amounts of game knowledge, and because of that, the big people in charge, they trust their game knowledge, their ability to deliver insightful commentary. So that's how they got, a lot of trust under their belt. Everything else, by being at a Worlds event, you get in contact with the right people. You know how when you get your invite, you have to sign a form, they get in contact with you. They have ways to get in contact with you. And, by being at a Worlds level event, they get to see you in person more often, and they get to know you better. And so, it helps develop that trust, and that's how they can also get in contact with you. Method number 3, Master Duelist Content Creator Route. This is myself, Farfa, and Pheromone, and I'm guessing most of you guys hope that, hey, maybe you'll fit under this category too. Well, do you? Well, let's find out. Well, first of all of us have done sponsored content at some way, shape, or form. Myself, I've done the early box openings and the strategy videos, and because of that, I have communicated with Konami. We have direct contact with each other. I hope that much is obvious. Otherwise, how do you think we align all the box openings and whatnot? Like the WCS players, we also have to keep up with the latest meta trends, the latest products, and we abide by Konami's policy. We built our professionalism and trust through a long period of time. We're not Konami employees. They probably watch our stuff through a very, very long period of time before they think, maybe we can give this person a chance. And through partnering, again, we have maintained communication with the right people, which kind of set us up for that direction. In addition, now Steven and I kind of want to say this is an additional asset. Like if you go on a, LinkedIn or whatever, they have a job requirement, there's a bonus, additional asset. Steve and I are both judges. He's my senpai. I've had the pleasure to work with him in the past, and I'd like to say, by keeping up with your ruling comprehension, it really helps us break down a game and help the audience follow it. We can put that into our delivery. Now, no, I am not saying by judging you can jump into commentary. That is not what I'm saying. But by judging, you can definitely showcase your professionalism there. And this is an additional asset, not exactly a bridge, okay? So among all 3 methods to meet the requirement, there is one thing in common. They have some way, shape, or form to get in contact with you. 2, they understand that you are confident in your game skill, your commentary, and you bring something to the table. And 3, they trust your professionalism. And so, what's next? Likely you're going to be trying to get the role. This is the secret sauce, I'll admit, okay? So, once you do get contacted, you do get screen tested. But what is this test? Well, I can't tell you. That's like asking for the questions on the RC2 comprehension exam. I'm not going to give that to you. But I am going to give you some material that definitely, I think they checked me on. This is just through my reverse engineering of the entire process based off of what I remember from a while back. But I think one of the first things they check on is, can you do it alone? Can you do it as a co-cast? What's your chemistry like? What's your delivery? Are you a colorful commentary? Are you a narrative commentator? Are you a caster? Are you getting the crowd as excited as they should be? And can you hype it up, especially during very big moments or very big plays in the game? These are the things that you should be able to try and deliver. And what's your vocabulary? What are you using? Are you using slang? Are you using jargon formed by the community? Or are you using the official terms? And, side note, use the official terms when it comes to official streams, because you're representing Konami at that point when it comes to using their streamline. So, okay, it makes sense. That's why you don't hear hand traps, FTK, mill, ban list, stuff like that. You're more likely going to hear Time Wizard 2010, Forbidden and Limited list for X date, stuff like that. It's kind of important. What's your pacing like? I think this is one of the key things here. What is your pacing and your delivery like? Unlike commentating a fixed video. I know some of you guys are like, oh, I've got tons of experience commentating fixed videos. But can you do it live? And what are you like when you're commentating live? Because players can be slow, they can be quick, they can skip steps, they could also get intervened by a judge disrupting the game. It could pull back to camera to you. What are you like in your commentary? How do you adapt? Are you good with your adapting? What is your tone? Are you monotone all the way through? And maybe you get bored of players not doing something. Is that actually coming through? Are you really mean to some players when you're doing your delivery? On a Konami stream, personally, I would not go in that direction. You don't want people to go on the feature table only to be completely destroyed. We are not Twitch chat, okay? I get Twitch chat is pretty insane during during those feature matches, but we are not that, okay? That's something you should keep in mind. Remember, there is no retakes when it comes to doing commentary live, and you don't get to control the pacing. So there's a lot of big things happening here. And, you just have to accept the game state sometimes, because you don't really get all the info sometimes, and you're just having to do it based off of your knowledge. So accept that the judges at the table are doing their best, and most likely they are doing their best to keep the game state as legal as possible. And everything, all of this stuff is happening under pressure. So once that's done, once you go through your test, that's it. And personally, I remember I did ask about feedback and what do you think I can improve on, so that I can work on some stuff. Because just because you interviewed for something like this, or you tried out for something like this, it doesn't mean that it is done. Like there's always room to improve. I remember 250th was definitely, it was a lot easier because I was so familiar with the format, but going into indie was a lot harder because it was a new format. And so there's like a lot of work. And speaking of the work, after you get the role, say you do get the role, you get a date, and you get to go to an event, you get to, be behind the desk, hidden from the scenes. And so what do you do? So after you get the role, congratulations, you're now officially a commentator. One of us. Well, I'm just messing with you, but you get to fly to events, and it's basically all sunshine and rainbows. Wrong. No, it's definitely not that. There's so much you should be working on before you even go to the event. There's a lot of the stuff that you don't see behind the scenes that hopefully gets reflected when we are on stream presenting to you guys. And the first thing is, you're expected to do your homework. You're expected to be a professional, to do your job. That's why you're there. That's why they trust you on this. So what is this homework that you have to do? Well, do you know the format? Is it a new format? Is it a new set list that dropped? Or is there a new Forbidden and Limited list? We say that because it's not a ban list. It's the official Forbidden and Limited list. And so you have to be able to switch your vocabulary. Do you have conversation topics with your co-host? There's a lot, because there's going to be times where there's going to be gaps in between. You better fill it. And I think that's one of the advice that Farfa gave me. Aside from just knowing the format, you also have to memorize most of the matchups in that format and their card effects by heart. The reason why it's so difficult is, I'm going to make a comparison with judging here. When you are judging an event, one of the things that you have at your disposal is you can pick up a card and you can read it, and as long as you read it in a timely manner, you can apply problem-solving card text, you can apply conjunctions, you can apply simultaneous effect going on chain. You can apply all of that to kind of solve your particular ruling case. You don't get that opportunity behind the desk. I mean, you can sometimes get a small chance to kind of look up a card effect, but in most cases you do not have that opportunity to do so. So you need to memorize most of these. And since the formats are so wide these days that there's at least 6 to 8 decks that are viable to take the title, it's best to have almost all of those memorized, so that you can keep the delivery flow going, so that the audience at home doesn't need to look up anything and they can just take your word for it and go with it. And that's one of the harder things about doing it. It's very much like preparing to be performing very, very well at large scale events, because the amount of preparation you put in, understanding how your opponent's decks work, eventually you can just apply a lot of that stuff. And I would say that being a commentator definitely made me a better player, because I understand a lot of those disruption points. I understand their combo lines. I understand the disruption line. I try to even learn a lot of the rogue matchups, because what if you get a curveball matchup 5-0? You don't know what they do. Well, we're picking them to go next. So you get a small amount of time to kind of study up on those. So you do a lot of matchup preparation, but that's just only preparing for the matchups. Sometimes you want to study up on these things, and so you get to bring a small little cue card with you to kind of read. And I have most of these. I usually put about 8 of them, 8 matchups, and I put them on cue cards in a spreadsheet form so I can understand their triggers, their stats, their cost, their requirement, their effects. I try to have all of it in a spreadsheet where I can quickly read it and keep the delivery going in case I need to look up something. Just in case both players are taking time to deliberate, I get a little time to kind of refresh a little. And you guys don't really get to see that, but it is part of commentary. It's kind of nice. On top of that, I want to give a huge shout out to Joe, which prepared a binder with all the matchups he believed was going to be relevant, and he had a thick binder, this thick, all full of card effects, highlighted everything that a judge would want in terms of deciphering a ruling. It was all there, so major shout outs. You definitely made YCS Indie a lot easier to commentate because your preparation made it easier for all of us. So, props to you. I want to give shout outs for you. Like, that was something that I really, really appreciated. And again, a big thing, you can't pick up cards. So you also need to fill time, as I mentioned, have conversation topics with your co-hosts, funny stories. You know the featured players. Did you watch the last YCS? Understand things are in the meta, cards in discussion, things that might be coming up. How would you adapt to a broken game state? As a commentator, if you know that the game state is broken, you sometimes would point it out, like, oh, that play probably wasn't allowed because that's probably that's not the legal play. But sometimes it becomes an accepted game state, or something look like something and we say it was something else. It does happen from time to time. How do you adapt to a broken game state? Another part of our job, which is to adapt to that. Sometimes the screen pulls back to us when they repair the game state, and you have to find something to talk about. And are you prepared to interview the winners? Are you prepared to do product promo? You're working with a broadcast company, so there's a lot of stuff that comes up when you arrive on the day of, and other things that you have to prepare for that you don't really see us do. Like, did you eat properly? I choose to not eat anything that's too fermented. I don't eat something that's too spicy because I don't want to feel uncomfortable behind the booth. Imagine needing to leave the booth midway through commentary. That's not something I want to do. So you don't want to get yourself sick. So you just eat properly. Yeah, I try to eat as clean as possible, not too greasy, just trying to stay healthy, just maintain a pretty decent diet, and then get enough sleep. Sleep is probably one of my worst things because I fly in sometimes, and by the time I arrive, it's like midnight or 1, and then I have to be there by like 8, and I'm so tired. So I basically sleep, and then I just don't get as much preparation time. That's where those cue cards come in. I read those on the plane. I read those on my phone. It's something that you have to do as a preparation. Sleeping, you don't want brain fog. When you have brain fog, sometimes you have moments where you just don't really see properly, and it just ruins the whole thing. You can't slow play on your own commentary. You can't, and you're trying to do your best to not deliver anything incorrectly. So sleeping is also another part of the preparation. Eating correctly, and there are certain things that I do wish that we get from the judges table. Like, when the judges are giving us commentary, giving us information, sometimes I really wish that they do keep us up to date with life points, so that we can also do calculations ourselves, like, oh, how are they going to obtain, say, game damage, with the current board, or maybe they don't need to commit as far. Like, we can't really see that sometimes, because even when I go to locals, I don't really whip out a pen and paper unless it's like a competitive game. And even based off of that, like, a lot of times it's just an approximation. Oh yeah, I definitely can't come back. You just have to scoop it up. Stuff like that. And I guess that's it. That's all I can really talk about in terms of like the after preparation of all the stuff we do behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that we do. And whenever we see you guys come out, sometimes I come out from time to time. I say hi to you guys. Sign some stuff. It's really fun. And I guess that's it for this video. From, preparing to getting your role as a commentator, to the role itself, to the preparation of doing that role. I think I've done a pretty decent job of covering it, but if I'm missing anything, leave it down in the comment section. After hearing this video, do you think it's still the right role for you? I didn't go into a lot of the policy related items there. That's probably not something I can dive into. I probably won't dive into. And once you become part of the role, you can decide whether or not it's right for you. But that's all I got for this one. Thank you guys for watching. I know this one's a bit different, and I guess I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.